Hey there. Tonight we drift upward, toward the silver companion that's been keeping quiet watch over Earth since before there were eyes to see it. You've probably stared at it 1,000 times, its soft face, carved in pale shadow, hanging like a patient ghost in the sky. But tonight, you're not just looking at it. You're floating there, slowly, softly, as the world falls away beneath your feet. The moon glows, but here's the first truth. It doesn't make its own light. Every silvery shimmer you've ever seen is a reflection of sunlight bouncing off gray dust. So yes, technically, you've been admiring second-hand sunlight your whole life. And that's perfectly fine. Most beautiful things are a little borrowed. The light takes about 1.3 seconds to travel from the moon to your eyes. Blink, and the photons that left its surface a heartbeat ago are already gone, replaced by new ones. You're literally seeing the past every time you look up. If you could pause here, 384,400 kilometers above the planet, Earth would hang below you, a swirl of blue and white and tender greens. From up here, it looks fragile, like a snow globe you could almost cup in your hand. The moon's gravity tugs you gently, a sixth of what you're used to. It's enough to make every step a tiny dance. Astronauts really did bounce, part physics, part joy. You can almost hear the faint hum of silence. It's so total it presses against your helmet like a physical thing. No air, no wind, no sound. And yet, this silence isn't emptiness. It's full of stories. You start to notice the subtle curve of its horizon, the long shadows stretching miles, the light so sharp it's almost painful. Lunar sunlight has no atmosphere to scatter it, so it falls pure and harsh, painting everything in black and white. No in-between. Somewhere on the far side, meteors still rain down, tiny cosmic grains that have been carving this surface for billions of years. That pitted texture, the freckles of infinity, is a record of time itself. The moon doesn't have weather to erase its past. Every impact, every footprint, stays. Even the first bootprints from 1969 are still there, undisturbed by wind or rain. They'll outlast every city on Earth. You probably won't survive that comparison literally. Our buildings will crumble long before that dust moves again. Scientists call the moon a fossilized witness to the early solar system. It formed about 4.5 billion years ago, not long after Earth. Back then, both worlds were molten chaos. The moon cooled faster, keeping a memory Earth lost. By studying its rocks, we read our own forgotten origin story. A mainstream fact: many lunar rocks are chemically identical to Earth's mantle. That's one big clue. We might be family. And that's where the debate begins. How exactly did this companion come to be? The giant impact hypothesis says a Mars-sized object named Theia slammed into the infant Earth, blasting molten debris into orbit that eventually clumped into the moon. It's the universe's most spectacular accident turned friendship. Yet not everyone agrees. Some scientists argue the moon might have formed alongside Earth, a cosmic twin separated at birth. Others whisper theories about it being a captured wanderer, snared by Earth's gravity. Even today, the math doesn't quite line up neatly. Scientists still argue whether our moon's precise composition really fits that giant impact story or if there's another chapter missing. But for now, just float. The view is timeless. Beneath you, Earth's clouds coil and twist like cream in coffee. The continents drift slowly in the blue haze. and you realize you're seeing the only place in the universe known to hold life. Everything you've ever loved is down there, glowing faintly in that pale light. A quick modern aside. If you ever wondered what the moon smells like, yes, astronauts did describe it. After removing their helmets inside the lunar module, they noticed a faint metallic scent on their suits, like spent gunpowder or ozone after lightning. Scientists think it's the smell of silicate dust reacting with oxygen, an aroma of space itself. Imagine your laundry coming back from the void with the scent of eternity. The moon's surface is covered in fine gray dust called regolith, created by constant meteor impacts. It's sharp as glass under a microscope, jagged enough to slice through suit fabric and seals. It clings to everything because there's no moisture to wash it away, no wind to blow it free. Every step an astronaut took kicked up glittering clouds of static charged dust, each grain sparkling briefly in the sunlight, before settling into stillness again. Look closer, and you'd see subtle color. The regolith isn't pure gray. It's laced with tiny beads of glass, created when meteors melted the soil on impact. Some shimmer gold, others green, even orange. Imagine a landscape made of powdered gemstones, frozen mid-dream. The moon's gravity does more than shape footprints. It shapes Earth itself. Its steady pull stirs the oceans into tides, rocking our planet's water like a cradle. Without it, Earth's tilt would wobble chaotically over eons, and our seasons might vanish into wild instability. So, when you fall asleep under moonlight, it's not just lighting your window, it's quietly holding your planet steady, one gravitational hug at a time. You glance again at the Earthrise, the blue orb peeking over the moon's horizon. It's strange to think that before Apollo, no human had ever seen that view. The moment those first photos came back, changed everything. Environmental movements, new philosophies, even the word planet gained a different emotional weight. The moon, silent and gray, had shown us the color of home. It's easy to forget how distant it really is. If you could drive there at highway speed, say 100 kilometers per hour, it would take you nearly 6 months, without brakes. Yet light covers that distance in just over a second. The mind reels, then settles. Time here doesn't behave the same way. You could stay an hour, or a lifetime. It would feel the same. Maybe that's why we're drawn to it. Generation after generation, poets, lovers, and scientists, all looking up, whispering questions. The same face, the same glow, yet somehow always personal. You feel the pull to it's not just gravity. It's myth and memory woven together. You exhale, and the stars blur a little. The silver eye above you seems to blink, slow and patient, as if it knows every dream you've ever had under its light. And maybe, in a way, it does. You step lightly now, your boots settling into the gray powder like it's flour on an ancient countertop. The silence is still there, unchanged, unbroken, but your mind begins to fill it with the hum of curiosity. Down here, beneath that soft halo of Earthlight, every grain of dust tells a story billions of years old. You can almost hear them whisper when you move. The lunar surface isn't just rock and emptiness. It's a palimpsest of history, layer upon layer of meteor dust, glass beads, and micro-impacts that never stop. Scientists say the regolith is between 2 and 15 meters deep, depending on where you land. You could dig for an hour and still never reach solid bedrock. That's because every cosmic pebble that's struck the moon since time began has pulverized something else beneath it. The result? A dusty layer cake of ancient violence. Yet somehow, in this ruin, there's beauty. You crouch low and scoop up a handful of the fine powder. In this dreamlike gravity, it falls from your glove in slow motion, drifting like smoke. Astronauts once described it as sticky, static clinging, stubborn clinging to everything it touched. Inside the Apollo landers, it coated switches, floated in the air, even irritated lungs. It was the most pervasive souvenir imaginable. You can picture some engineer back on Earth shaking his head as a lunar sample bag bursts open, a cloud of gray puffing into the air-conditioned lab. That smell again, burnt, metallic, otherworldly. But the moon is more than dust. It's texture, light, and shadow. Look around. See those sharp-edged ridges glowing against the darkness. That's because without air to scatter sunlight, shadows fall black and perfect, like ink poured over glass. The landscape looks closer than it really is. Distances trick the eye. Astronauts misjudged craters, stumbling toward what looked like a nearby ridge, only to find it kilometers away. You'd laugh if the idea of tripping on the moon weren't both ridiculous and majestic. In the middle of this strange desert, you notice something curious. The footprints you made a moment ago are flawless. No crumble, no collapse. Lunar gravity preserves them like sculptures. You could walk a straight line across a crater floor and come back 100 years later to see the same trail, each print, each mark, unchanged. The moon doesn't forget. In a way, it's the universe's scrapbook, collecting tiny human traces among the ruins of cosmic time. You brush some dust aside and expose a glint of basalt. That's the moon's backbone. Most of its surface is basaltic rock-cooled lava from ancient volcanic eruptions. About 3 billion years ago, the moon was far more geologically alive. It wept molten rivers across its basins, flooding impact scars and freezing into what we now call Maria, the seas of the moon. You'll see those soon, the dark blotches that form its familiar face. A mainstream fact: during Apollo 17, astronauts discovered orange soil. For a moment, NASA thought they'd struck something truly alien. Turns out, it was volcanic glass microscopic beads born in fiery fountains eons ago. But for that brief instant, humanity stared at an orange streak on a gray world and felt the pulse of surprise again. You move toward a small crater rim and peer inside. The regolith slopes downward, textured like powdered sugar that's been sifted for ages. The impact that formed it may have been tiny, just a pebble from space, but at lunar speeds. Even a pebble strikes like TNT. The crater may be no wider than a house, yet it tells you everything about energy and fragility. Out here, even silence leaves scars. As you gaze, your mind wanders to something odd. Some astronauts swore they saw glowing horizons when they tried to sleep in the lunar module. A soft haze rising from the surface at the edge of night. Scientists later suggested it could be dust particles levitating due to static electricity, tiny motes bouncing up and down in the absence of atmosphere. Imagine the moon breathing in dust light, exhaling tiny silver sparks at the rim of eternal night. There's another mystery, one that keeps coming back: the moon rings. During Apollo 12, when NASA deliberately crashed the spent lunar module onto the surface to test seismometers, the moon reverberated for nearly an hour. It rang like a bell, Mission Control reported. The phrase caught on, sparking decades of speculation. Of course, it's not hollow like a bell. just that seismic waves travel differently through its fractured, dry interior. Still, the idea lingers, humming softly in your imagination. The moon, ringing in the void, a quiet, cosmic chime. You stretch out, imagining lying on your back here. No sound, no breeze, no stars twinkling, because without air, stars don't twinkle. They burn steady and sharp. You could almost trace constellations with your glove. Orion hangs frozen over the horizon, and somewhere, Earth rotates lazily, oblivious to your quiet wonder. And then, the quirky detail no textbook ever really mentions. Moon dust can be slightly magnetic. Some samples returned by Apollo missions contain tiny bits of metallic iron created by micrometeorite heat. It's faint, but enough to make a compass needle twitch in confusion. A pocket compass up here would lose its mind, and maybe you would too, after a few days of that constant silver glare. Scientists still argue whether the lunar surface hides pockets of frozen water in its shadows. Those permanently dark craters at the poles might hold ice older than any glacier on Earth. Imagine that water from comets billions of years ago, preserved like fossils in shadow so deep sunlight has never touched it. Even now, robotic probes are drilling, sniffing, searching. The moon guards its secrets tightly. You take another step, kicking up a thin plume of dust. It floats, arcs, and falls again, perfectly silent. It feels less like walking and more like slow motion swimming in dreamlight. Every move you make feels exaggerated, graceful, like the planet below has loosened its grip, just for tonight. For a brief second, you wonder what it would be like to camp here. You'd zip the tent flap, look up through the clear visor, and see Earth suspended, glowing like a nightlight. The hum of your oxygen, the hiss of your breath, maybe the faint vibration of a distant micrometeor strike, and you'd realize this isn't just a rock. It's a mirror for everything human, everything fragile and ambitious and curious. The moon doesn't give answers. It just listens. You stand there longer than you meant to. The dust settles around your boots, and the silence folds back over you like a blanket. Above, the stars burn clean and distant, and for the first time in a while, you feel small in the best possible way. You keep floating forward, your slow drift carrying you across the powdery plain. The light shifts just slightly. Now the soft grays deepen, the edges of craters sharpen. You can almost feel history vibrating under your boots, even though nothing here has moved in eons. This, after all, is where it all began. The story of how the moon came to be isn't just old, it's primordial. Close your eyes for a moment and try to imagine Earth 4.5 billion years ago. Forget the oceans, the continents, the quiet moonlight. It was molten, glowing red-orange like a furnace. Then, out of the cosmic dark, something roughly the size of Mars slammed into it. The impact was so violent that it nearly tore the young planet apart. Debris, molten rock and vaporized crust was thrown into orbit, swirling into a halo of glowing fragments. That's the giant impact hypothesis, the current leading story. From that storm of molten chaos, the moon was born a child made of Earth's own flesh. But scientists still argue whether it really happened that way. The math is hauntingly close but not perfect. If the moon formed from Earth's debris, why are its isotopes so similar, almost identical to Earth's mantle, when the impactor Theia should have contributed its own fingerprint? Some researchers propose that the collision was even more extreme, vaporizing both bodies into a shared, swirling donut of magma event they poetically call a synestia. Out of that churning inferno, the moon condensed like a droplet cooling from steam. Others still whisper that the moon might not have come from Earth at all, that it had formed elsewhere and been captured later, locked in orbit by gravity's perfect timing. The debate is still alive, as loud and fiery as that ancient collision. You open your eyes again. The cratered surface around you feels quieter, now like it's keeping the secret. You look down and see tiny pebbles glinting where sunlight hits them. They could be 4 billion years old. You're standing on remnants of that impact. Dust older than bones, older than oceans, older than life. If you dig into the moon's crust in your imagination, you'd find it layered like a burnt cake crust on top, then a mantle, then perhaps a small, partially molten core. The core is tiny, only about 1 to 2% of its total mass. Nothing like Earth's giant, churning iron heart. That's one reason the moon lost its magnetic field long ago. Today, it's magnetically quiet, except for a few mysterious patches that still hold weak fossilized magnetism. Some scientists think these could be the remains of an ancient magnetic dynamo, frozen in stone. Others suggest meteors rich in iron left behind their own subtle fields, confusing our instruments. Either way, the moon seems to hum softly with ghostly echoes of its fiery youth. You can almost picture the time lava fountains bursting through cracks, rivers of molten basalt filling ancient basins. The young moon glowed red-hot, cooling slowly over millions of years. When the surface finally solidified, those lava seas left behind the dark plains we see today, the Maria, Latin for seas. Early astronomers peering through primitive telescopes mistook them for oceans. That mistake gave the moon its most poetic names: Mare Tranquillitatis, Mare Serenitatis, Mare Imbrium, seas of tranquility, serenity, and rain. Humanity named them after moods we wished upon the sky. Here's a quirky thought. If the moon was once molten, did it have volcanoes? Absolutely. Ancient ones. Some still stand too, small, dome-like hills that dot the Mare surfaces. The largest, Mons Ker, rises 1,100 meters high, but it's extinct, silent for more than 1 billion years. The moon's volcanic heart cooled early, its heat lost to space. Scientists still argue whether it might have had the faintest volcanic activity in recent history. Tiny vents, puffing gas or dust. But the evidence is slim, like the last sigh of a dying ember. As you walk, you find yourself tracing patterns in the dust. You realize the moon's story isn't just about fire, it's about separation. Earth and moon began as one body, then drifted apart, each carrying a part of the other. That's strangely poetic, isn't it? A cosmic breakup that somehow resulted in perfect balance. The moon circles Earth every 27.3 days, locked in synchronous rotation, always showing the same face. You never see its hidden side without machines or imagination. Lovers say it's shy. Scientists say it's tidally locked. Both are right. You pause and look up at the black sky, Earth hanging there like a blue lantern. From here, Earth looks 14 times larger than the moon does from down there. Its clouds shimmer, its oceans flash light. You can even make out storms swirling, city lights faintly glowing along the continents. If aliens ever visited, this would be the view they'd never forget. The two worlds forever tethered, the bright and the grey, dancing through gravity's invisible thread. You think about that tether, the way gravity locked them together. When the moon was young, it spun faster. Over time, Earth's gravity tugged at its uneven shape, slowing its rotation until one side became permanently fixed toward us. Scientists call that tidal locking. It's why you always see the same lunar face when you look up. The other side isn't dark. It gets sunlight too, but it's a stranger to your eyes. Here's the funny part. That gravitational tug is still happening. It's subtle, but the moon's orbit isn't a perfect circle. It's slowly expanding. Each year, it drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther from Earth. That might not sound like much, but in a few 100 million years, the total distance will have changed dramatically. Someday, the moon will appear smaller in our sky, and total solar eclipses, those rare, perfect moments when it covers the sun, exactly will no longer happen. Enjoy them while humanity's clock still allows it. You can't help but laugh quietly at the absurd scale of it all. Cosmic separations measured in centimeters per year. It's the universe's slowest, long-distance relationship, and yet it works stable, enduring, gravitationally devoted. Scientists still argue whether that slow drift began right after formation or accelerated later due to tidal friction in Earth's oceans. Either way, every tide that rises, every wave that crashes on a beach, transfers a tiny bit of energy to the moon, pushing it away ever so slightly. You could say every heartbeat of the sea is gently nudging the moon further into the dark. And still, as you stand there, it doesn't feel far at all. It feels close, almost human. The dust, the craters, the stillness, they feel like memory. You realize that in a way, you and the moon share the same history. You're both made from Earth. You both carry its chemistry, its stories, its fire. You take a breath. Not that there's any air here, and let that thought settle. Above you, Earth glows like a reminder. Below, the ancient dust glimmers with secrets. Between them, you stand half dreamer, half scientist, suspended in wonder. You start to notice something subtle. As you wander farther across the plains, your shadow moves differently than it would on Earth. It stretches long and thin, then suddenly snaps short, depending on where the sun hits the jagged ridges. Time feels loose here. The sun rises and sets only once every 29.5 Earth days. That means 2 weeks of relentless daylight, followed by 2 weeks of deep, glacial night. You could take a nap for days and still wake up under the same cold, unblinking light. And during that long daylight, the moon bakes. Without an atmosphere to soften the sun's rays, temperatures soar to around 127. See, hot enough to melt plastic. Hot enough to make you grateful for every inch of your imaginary spacesuit. But as soon as the sun dips below the horizon, the heat vanishes like a ghost. The temperature plummets to 173. C, cold enough to freeze metal brittle. One rotation, two extremes. You think your local weather is unpredictable. The moon laughs softly in silence. The extremes make you reflect on how fragile life is. Earth's atmosphere protects, cushions, balances. Up here, the same light that nourishes becomes punishment. The same shadow that soothes turns lethal. If you left a wrench in the sunlight, it would burn your hand. Leave it half in light, half in shade, it would crack in two from the stress. Even machines suffer mood swings here. That contrast, though bright and dark, hot and cold, is what gives the moon its hypnotic look. The dividing line, that delicate curve of shadow, is called the terminator. Along it, the sun is rising or setting, casting impossibly long shadows across craters and ridges. Astronauts loved walking near the terminator because the low angle of light revealed every bump and groove in dramatic relief. You'd probably love it too. Each step like walking through a black and white photograph made of powder and silence. You crouch near a small ridge and feel the idea of time bend around you. Everything here changes slowly, almost reluctantly. Erosion doesn't exist in the way you know it. There's no wind to smooth a rock, no rain to wash dust away. A crater can last billions of years. Even a single pebble, knocked loose by a meteor strike, might lie where it landed for all eternity. It's the slowest kind of permanence imaginable. A mainstream fact: the Moon is moving away from Earth by about 3.8 centimeters per year. That may sound tiny, but over the ages it reshapes everything. Our tides, our days, even our planet's spin. When the Moon was born, Earth's day lasted barely 6 hours. Imagine sunsets arriving 4 times faster than now, the sky whirling like a carousel. As the Moon's pull slowed our rotation, days lengthened and life adapted. Even the rhythm of our biology, our 24-hour sleep cycles, owes something to that cosmic tug-of-war. So yes, your insomnia might trace back to orbital mechanics. Try using that as an excuse. Scientists still argue whether the rate of the Moon's drift has been steady or if it once moved faster. Some models suggest it was much closer just after formation. So close that it would have looked enormous in the sky, 20 times bigger than it does now. The tides back then would have towered hundreds of meters high, sloshing continents like soup in a bowl. Imagine ancient volcanoes glowing beneath that giant moonlight. Earth must have looked like a lava lamp. You walk, slower now, across the glowing plain. The sunlight shifts again, lower, softer. You think about what it must have been like when early humans first looked up, not knowing what it was. A perfect circle that waxed and waned, appearing and disappearing with mysterious rhythm. It became a clock before clocks existed, a calendar etched in the sky. Farmers, sailors, priests, all counted their days by its face. Even now, its gravity keeps the oceans in motion and the climate relatively stable. In a way, it's been regulating Earth's heartbeat since before there were hearts to feel it. A small shadow passes your path, a memory of a meteor. Impacts still happen, but not often enough to feel dangerous. Most are pebble-sized. You recall the footage of a real event in 2013, when a tiny meteor hit during a lunar eclipse, visible even from backyard telescopes on Earth. A bright flash for a second, then gone. Here, though, every scar remains, eternal graffiti on a grey canvas. You take a few more steps, and there's a new sound in your imagination. The faint hum of your oxygen, the subtle creak of your boots. You smile, realizing you're starting to feel the Moon, rather than study it. That's when the gentle humor creeps back in. So this is what they mean by space having no chill. You think, half amused, half awestruck. Between the frying pan days and cryogenic nights, the Moon is like the worst Airbnb ever, and yet you'd still stay forever. You reach the edge of a shallow depression. Here, the dust glows dimly blue, an optical illusion caused by the way light scatters off the fine particles near twilight. It's subtle, but real astronauts describe the phenomenon too. They saw the horizon glow faintly just before lunar sunrise. Some said it looked like Earth's dawn seen through a veil of smoke. Scientists suspect it's sunlight reflecting off electrostatically levitated dust jets. The Moon has its own faint airborne haze. Even without air, It's as if it refuses to be entirely still. You pause again and think about the paradox. A place utterly dead, yet constantly changing in invisible ways. The moon is slowly drifting away, slowly cooling, slowly shedding dust into space. Even silence, it seems, can evolve. Maybe that's why its light feels so emotional. The moon we see tonight is slightly farther away than the one our ancestors saw. Every generation has its own version of the same moon, just a few centimeters different, a few heartbeats older. We watch it go and barely notice, the way we barely notice ourselves changing over time. You exhale slowly. The sound disappears into the vacuum, and you're left with nothing but the thump of your pulse and the soft crunch beneath your boots. You look up again at the earth, spinning lazily below, the same tides rising and falling, whispering thanks to the moon that keeps them dancing. You can almost hear it now, a slow, patient rhythm between two worlds. The light begins to change again, the angle sharper, shadows stretching long like fingers. You're crossing into the borderlands between lunar day and night, where the contrast turns otherworldly. Here, every rock glows silver, every crater rim a razor of light. You feel as if you're walking through a monochrome dream. No color, no softness, just pure geometry under a pitiless sun. You pause to glance upward. It's strange how the sky looks the same no matter which way you turn. Always black, always eternal. Even when the sun blazes overhead, the stars remain visible if you shade your eyes. That's one of the moon's quiet tricks without air. The heavens never fade. It's daylight and midnight at once. You crouch and rest a hand on the powder, imagining the heat radiating through your glove. At high noon, this surface could boil water in seconds. The sunlight here is unfiltered, no atmosphere to scatter, no clouds to soften. It's why the shadows look so black, so absolute. There's no blue sky glow to fill them in. The result is a landscape of pure extremes light, so bright it hurts. Darkness so deep it seems bottomless. If you step just a few meters into the shade of a boulder, your temperature sensors would drop by hundreds of degrees. Day and night don't blend here, they collide. The moon doesn't do mild. It's a world of absolutes. You wander farther into this twilight zone, where the sun hovers low on the horizon like a spotlight in slow motion. You can almost feel the heat slipping away. Imagine being stranded here for a full lunar night, 2 weeks of darkness, where the temperature falls to 173 C. Batteries freeze, metal cracks, even electronics slow down. You'd have to hibernate like a cosmic bear just to survive. It's not just the temperature that plays tricks. Without air, the sky doesn't change color at sunset. There's no scattering to redden the light. The sun just slides silently below the horizon. No fanfare, no fading pinks or purples. One moment blazing, the next, nothing. Eternal shadow. You realize how much you miss Earth's atmosphere, the way it wraps light in soft edges and lets day ease into night. Here, everything is abrupt. Everything is final. You glance down and notice the way your shadow ripples strangely. It's sharp as a knife, so well defined you can count the ridges on your glove. Move your hand, and the shadow moves instantly, perfectly. No blur, no delay. It's eerie, almost too real. You wave once, a private joke, and the black silhouette waves back with cosmic precision. For a second, you feel like you're waving to something else, some echo of yourself, left behind in lunar dust. There's another oddity you remember. Because of the lack of air, sounds don't travel, but vibrations do. through the ground, through your boots. Astronauts once reported feeling subtle tremors, the moonquakes. Some were caused by tidal stress, others by meteor impacts, and a few by thermal expansion, as the crust heated and cooled. Imagine a whole world flexing ever so slightly, creaking as it warms and freezes. Scientists still argue whether those moonquakes mean the moon's core might still be active, or if it's just the planet's slow way of sighing. Here's a mainstream fact. The moon's day and night cycle 29.5 Earth days controls its temperature swings. With no air to distribute heat, sunlight cooks one half while the other half freezes. The difference between night and day can exceed 300 degrees Celsius. That's the biggest daily temperature range of any place humans have ever set foot on. Your cozy bedroom feels like paradise in comparison. You can't help but smirk at the thought. Space, the universe's most aggressive spa treatment. Too hot, too cold, no oxygen, no refund. You'd write a brutal Yelp review if your fingers weren't busy staying attached. And yet, beneath the sarcasm, the serenity lingers. The airlessness makes everything feel close and eternal. Even heat doesn't shimmer it, radiates cleanly, invisibly. The sunlight looks solid, like it's carved rather than poured. You take a few steps into a crater's rim and watch the glow fade behind you. Inside, darkness swallows everything but the faint gleam of Earthlight overhead. That's the moon's secret. When the sun disappears, Earth becomes the lamp. Its reflected light is bright enough to cast shadows and guide your steps. They call it Earthshine. If you've ever seen a crescent moon where the dark side still glows faintly, that's Earthlight shining back. A reciprocal kindness between two worlds. Even now, standing here, that gentle blue radiance gives the surface a ghostly luminescence. You imagine being an astronaut, watching that from the far side. No Earth in the sky, just darkness and stars. The silence would be deeper somehow, the loneliness sharper. Maybe that's why humans have always written poems about moonlight. It's beautiful precisely because it's borrowed. You walk a little farther and glance at the horizon. The curve looks closer here, so close it feels like you could walk to the edge and fall off into space. That illusion is another gift of the moon's small size. Its radius is barely a quarter of Earth's, so the horizon sits only 2.4 kilometers away. You could literally jog from sunrise to sunset in under an hour. If the heat didn't cook your lungs first, you pause again and think about what that means: an entire world you could cross in a few days on foot. No forests, no oceans, no weather, just endless gray plains and craters that hold the universe's memory. Every step you take here, every particle of dust, was once molten rock, born in a cataclysm so ancient it predates life. The moon is both a grave and a cradle, a survivor of the solar system's violent youth. And here you are, standing between light and shadow, feeling its pulse through your imagination. You don't need air to hear it. You just know it's there, a rhythm in the silence. A reminder that even in extremes between boiling heat and freezing dark, balance exists. You take one last look at the horizon. The sun trembles, half set. The shadows stretch to infinity. You smile faintly, whisper something into the void just because you can, and watch the words dissolve into stillness. The light has slipped away now, fading into the long lunar night. You stand still for a moment, watching as the stars sharpen overhead, so many, so clear. It's like you're peering into the circuitry of the cosmos itself. You can't decide whether it's breathtaking or a little terrifying. Probably both. The night here lasts roughly 14 Earth days, 2 weeks of unbroken darkness, where the temperature plummets lower than any winter on Earth could dream of. You can almost imagine the regolith contracting beneath your feet, tiny grains whispering together as they freeze. There's no wind to carry the cold, but you feel it anyway, an absence so complete it becomes its own kind of sound. Somewhere out there, in this endless dark, ancient footprints still rest undisturbed. They'll be there for millions of years, unless a meteor finds them. No weather, no erosion, no time as you know it, just stillness. You picture those prints, the shape of a boot, the faint outline of a flag's pole, and you realize how bizarre it is that human history has literally left fingerprints on another world. And speaking of flags, did you know that the American flags left by Apollo missions haven't all survived gracefully? The UV radiation, the heat, the cold, they've bleached most of them, bone white. A few were knocked over by rocket exhaust when the astronauts lifted off again. So up there, fluttering in a place with no wind, are pale ghost flag symbols turned into spectral art. You'd think it's sad, but somehow it feels poetic. Even symbols fade in the vacuum of eternity. Scientists still argue whether the lunar surface might hold subtle traces of color that the human eye can't see unaided. Some instruments detect faint, almost hidden hues, iron-rich reds, titanium blues mixed into the gray. Perhaps, under Earthlight, it shimmers more than we think. Maybe the moon just hides its colors, the way old souls hide their memories. You walk across a darker plane now, and your boots kick up dust that glows faintly before settling. Each grain moves in a strange, stately dance. The reason? Electrostatic charge. During the lunar day, sunlight bombards the surface and charges the dust, causing it to levitate, yes, actually float a few centimeters above the ground. The effect dies down at night, but a few stubborn grains still hang in the thin electric field, drifting like fireflies in zero air. A mainstream fact that levitating dust is one of NASA's biggest headaches. The Apollo astronauts found it everywhere, inside suits, inside helmets, clogging zippers. It was like clingy glitter that refused to let go. It scratched visors, irritated eyes, and smelled faintly of spent gunpowder. You laugh softly at the thought. Humanity's first step into deep space, sabotaged by cosmic dust bunnies. And yet, that same dust holds ancient secrets. Some particles date back 4.5 billion years, practically unchanged since the moon formed. Others were tossed there by meteors carrying exotic materials, tiny fragments from the early solar system, maybe even from other planets. Imagine the stories buried in that dust, entire histories of collisions, births, extinctions, all compressed into a powder that clings to your boots. You stop beside a small crater rim, not large, just a few meters across but sharp-edged, as if freshly carved. You realize it probably is fresh. Micrometeorites hit the moon all the time, thousands each year. No atmosphere to burn them up. Every few hours, somewhere across this gray world, a new crater is born. The moon is constantly being tattooed by the universe, one impact at a time. That leads to one of the strangest debates in lunar science. Some researchers claim that the moon might still experience tiny meteor showers correlated with specific comet trails, while others say it's all random. Scientists still argue whether the moon's surface changes in predictable cycles, or if it's just perpetually rearranging itself, like a restless sleeper. You chuckle to yourself. The moon as an insomniac, it fits the theme, doesn't it? Always turning one face toward Earth, never truly resting. Maybe it watches us through that still night, the way you sometimes stare at the ceiling when you can't sleep, tracing the slow pattern of thought. The more you look up, the more surreal the stars appear. Without air to twinkle them, they burn steady, unwavering pinholes punched in infinity. It's said that if you stood here with perfect vision, you could spot the Milky Way stretching in impossible clarity, the entire galactic disk, a pale river of light. There's no horizon glow, no atmosphere scattering, just naked starlight, cold and perfect. You notice Earth again, hanging above the horizon. It's bright tonight, a waxing gibbous, a huge blue-white marble wrapped in cloud. Its light paints the landscape in silver. You could almost read by it. You realize how strange it must feel to look up at that glowing orb and know that's home. Every person, every tree, every drop of ocean, all reduced to a sphere, hanging silently in blackness. You feel both proud and absurdly small. The moon has that effect, ego and awe colliding in the same heartbeat. It's a kind of humility that tastes metallic and ancient. The quiet stretches on. You find yourself humming without realizing it, some small, sleepy tune, just to break the silence. It doesn't travel far, just vibrates in your helmet. The sound of your own voice feels oddly comforting in this vacuum. For a fleeting moment, you imagine what the moon sounds like, if it could hum back. The vibrations of impacts, the distant tremors of moonquakes, maybe even the hum of your own heartbeat echoing through your suit. It's not silence here, it's unshared sound, like a conversation waiting to happen. You reach down and pick up a small rock. It's smoother than you expect, its edges melted by ancient heat. Maybe it came from deep beneath the surface, thrown upward by an impact eons ago. You could be holding a piece of a crater older than Earth's dinosaurs. That realization makes you breathe slower, deeper, as if not to disturb it. This little stone has outlived everything you've ever known. You tuck it back into the dust gently, like putting a secret back where it belongs. The night thickens, and you feel something shift, not fear, exactly, but reverence, the kind that quiets your mind without you asking it to. You start to feel heavy-limbed, almost drowsy, lulled by the constancy of the stars. Maybe that's the moon's hidden magic. It erases urgency. Nothing rushes here. Nothing changes faster than eternity allows. You look once more at Earthlight stretching across the plain, soft as mist. The horizon glows faintly, and you think, if silence had a texture, it would feel like this: cold, smooth, infinite. Maybe you should stay a while longer. Time passes strangely here. You're not sure if it's been minutes or hours since you started walking again. On the moon, time feels like an Earth habit that doesn't quite fit anymore. With no sunrise or sunset every few hours, no ticking clocks, no breathable air to fill silence with rhythm, you begin to drift outside the idea of minutes. You're crossing the highlands, now ancient, rugged, and bright, covered in shattered rock older than most continents back home. These uplands are the moon's scars, remnants of its early life when molten seas cooled and solidified. The terrain crunches softly underfoot, like walking on powdered glass. The light from Earth above gives everything a pearlescent gleam. You can see your reflection faintly in your helmet visor, a ghost floating over a ghostly world. You smirk. Nice place for a midnight walk, you think, if you don't mind zero atmosphere and occasional micrometeorites. You come across something unexpected, a small cluster of boulders standing oddly close together. like an accidental monument. Each stone is a different shade of grey, and their surfaces sparkle faintly under the earthlight. You crouch beside one and notice the glittering flecks of olivine and pyroxene crystals forged under ancient pressure. They're fragments from deep within the moon's crust, thrust upward by long-forgotten impacts. A mainstream fact: the lunar highlands are some of the oldest surfaces in the entire solar system, around 4.4 billion years old. That's older than almost any rock you can find on Earth. Our planet's crust was recycled by volcanoes and tectonic shifts, but the moon kept its ancient skin. You're literally standing on fossilized history, planetary memory, made solid. You drag a gloved hand across a rock and realize something strange. It feels sticky in a way that isn't quite physical. Your brain, maybe, insisting that something this silent should resist you. It doesn't. The surface is smooth, fine-grained, unyielding. You glance at the horizon again. From here, the curvature of the moon seems even sharper, an endless grey dome pressed under a black ceiling. No wind, no clouds, no sound, just geometry and gravity doing their thing. The stars overhead look steady, like they've been pinned in place. The highlands are higher for a reason. Billions of years ago, a colossal impact on the far side reshaped the moon's crust, creating a bulge opposite the Mare Imbrium basin. That's why the moon's far side is thicker and rougher. It took the brunt of ancient bombardment. Scientists still argue whether that asymmetry came from a single massive collision or from early tidal heating when the moon was still molten. Some even suggest that the moon might have merged with a smaller companion moon in its youth, a twin that didn't survive the dance. You let that thought sink in. 2 moons in orbit once, circling Earth, until one consumed the other. It sounds like cosmic cannibalisms, but nature calls it accretion. You'd call it family drama, lunar edition. You start walking again, boots leaving perfect imprints that will outlast empires. You can almost hear the faint echo of your steps, not as sound, but as vibration. The way your mind fills in the silence is fascinating. Humans are wired to expect air. Here, your brain invents it just to stay sane. A small crater nearby catches your eye. Its rim gleams faintly, and the floor inside is darker, smoother. You climb down carefully, sliding a bit as the powder shifts beneath you. At the bottom, you spot something peculiar. A thin, glassy sheen coating a patch of rock. It looks like melted glaze on pottery. You kneel, shining your lamp. It sparkles, faintly blue. This is impact glass, formed when meteors strike at incredible speeds, tens of kilometers per second, fusing the regolith into glass beads. Some of those beads are now stored in labs on Earth, holding minute traces of gases trapped at the moment of impact. Tiny bubbles of space history. Some of them even show evidence of water molecules. Yes, actual water, preserved in glass. It's one of the moon's more recent surprises. It isn't entirely dry after all. Scientists used to believe it was bone dry, a dust desert forever parched. But modern missions found hints of ice in shadowed craters and trace hydroxyl molecules in the soil. The moon, it turns out, has its own way of keeping secrets, like hiding tears in plain sight. You tilt your head upward again. Earthlight catches on the visor, and for a heartbeat, you see your reflection superimposed on the glowing planet above. It looks as if you're holding Earth in your gaze. You wonder if someone down there, standing outside on a quiet night, might be looking up at this same moon and thinking about you unknowing, connected by reflected light. It's strange, this tether. The moon doesn't orbit you personally, yet somehow it feels intimate. You remember the myths, how ancient cultures saw rabbits, lovers, gods, or mothers in its face. They weren't wrong. The moon reflects whatever you need it to. It's a celestial mirror for humanity's imagination, and imagination, after all, is what keeps you warm out here. You lean against the rock for a moment and close your eyes. Behind your lids, the black becomes velvet. The silence turns musical. You think about how the moon affects everything from tides to timekeeping. Without it, Earth's rotation would wobble more. Climates would shift unpredictably. Maybe even life itself would have evolved differently. The moon stabilizes us. Quite literally, it's the cosmic hand that steadies Earth's spin. It's funny to think, this cold, silent sphere is one of the reasons sunsets are beautiful back home, why oceans breathe in and out, why nights aren't just pure darkness. A single rock, 384,000 kilometers away, giving rhythm to the entire planet. And here you are, brushing its skin with your fingertips. You start to feel drowsy, lulled by the endless repetition of gray and glow. The lunar highlands are hypnotic, no landmarks, no horizon changes, just texture and quiet. Your thoughts stretch out like the shadows did earlier, long and slow. You picture the moon not as a place anymore, but as a feeling, a suspended moment between memory and dream. A faint joke slips through your tired brain. You came all this way for moon rocks, and all you got was insomnia. You smile in your helmet, the kind of half smile that drifts into a sigh. The silence doesn't answer, but somehow you feel it smiling back. You continue on, leaving the highlands behind, and find yourself approaching one of the moon's most mesmerizing regions, the dark plains known as Maria. They stretch out before you like frozen oceans, vast and smooth compared to the rugged highlands you just crossed. From Earth, these are the shapes that make up the man in the moon. Though up close, they're less like faces and more like scars. The Maria are ancient lava seas, born from colossal impacts that cracked the moon's crust billions of years ago. Molten rock once surged upward through those wounds, spreading across the surface and cooling into dark basalt. What you're walking on now is essentially petrified lava, iron-rich, magnetic, and still slightly glassy under your light. Each step feels heavier here. The ground absorbs vibration differently, the dust finer, the color deeper. You imagine the lava, once glowing red-hot, flooding these basins in silent waves. It's a strange thought, fire and emptiness coexisting in a world that never had air to feed flames. The most famous of these plains, Mare Imbrium, the Sea of Rains, lies somewhere to your west. It's one of the largest impact basins in the solar system, nearly the size of Western Europe. Standing here, you could walk for days and still be tracing the edge of a crater, born from a collision so immense it would have vaporized an ocean back on Earth. Scientists still argue whether those massive impacts helped shape Earth's early environment. Some suggest that the debris ejected from those collisions seeded our planet with minerals or even the building blocks of life. The moon might have accidentally helped make Earth habitable, a cosmic act of sibling generosity. You look down and notice streaks of lighter rock running through the dark basalt. They look almost like veins. Those are Rilla's ancient lava channels that once carried molten rivers beneath the surface. Some stretch for hundreds of kilometers, meandering like dried-up arteries. Others are collapsed tunnels, lunar lava tubes. The quirky thing? Those tubes could one day become homes. Future astronauts or settlers might build their bases inside them, shielded from radiation, temperature swings, and micrometeorites. Imagine sleeping in a cave where molten rock once flowed, sipping recycled water while Earth rises through the skylight. It's both terrifying and oddly romantic. The ultimate off-grid life. You pause and kick at a small pebble. It bounces in slow motion, landing with a puff of dust that lingers much longer than it would on Earth. Everything here happens a little slower, a little smoother, as if gravity itself is half asleep. You grin. The moon's just as lazy as the rest of us at night, you whisper. And speaking of lazy, some of those lava flows cooled so evenly that they trapped bubbles of gas, forming tiny glass spheres. Apollo astronauts brought them home, and inside those beads, scientists found not just gases, but minute isotopes of titanium and iron, each one a chemical signature of the moon's fiery past. That's the mainstream fact of this section. The Maria's basalt is rich in metals and offers clues about the moon's internal chemistry. In fact, certain areas contain titanium levels up to 10 times higher than Earth's crust. You wonder, briefly, if humanity will ever mine those plains. There's helium-3 here too, a rare isotope that could fuel future fusion reactors. Clean energy, trapped in lunar dust. The idea feels both hopeful and mildly dystopian, turning this silent beauty into an industrial zone. You imagine robotic harvesters crawling over the plains like silver ants, collecting moonlight for profit. You sigh. We can't even leave the moon unmonetized, can we? Still, there's something deeply peaceful about this expanse. It's flat enough to trick your senses. Without trees or landmarks, depth perception collapses. You could stare for hours and not tell if that ridge is a kilometer away or 10. You start to feel weightless in the eyes, drifting between scale and imagination. You come across a narrow groove cutting through the plain. A sinuous, real, Rembrandt-level craftsmanship, drawn by volcanic forces billions of years ago. You follow it, tracing its lazy curve. The shadows inside are darker than pitch. You remember how astronauts once joked that the moon's rills look like melted spaghetti, a perfect mix of science and absurdity. One of those rills, the Hadley Rill, is where Apollo 15 landed in 1971. The crew there found rocks that revealed a complex volcanic history, a story not of dead stillness, but of dynamic change. The moon, it turns out, wasn't always silent. It was once violent, molten, alive, with movement. Scientists still argue whether lunar volcanism truly ended billions of years ago, or if there might still be faint heat below enough to occasionally vent gases or shift the ground. The moon, after all, surprises us often. Perhaps beneath these plains lies a quiet pulse, beating slower than time itself. You find a small rise and climb it slowly. From the top, the view stretches unbroken in every direction. Grey plains under an unchanging sky. No horizon haze, no motion except your own. It's both infinite and claustrophobic. You whisper something you've said before, a mantra that feels appropriate. You're not lost, you're just small. Somewhere below, deep in the basalt, tiny crystals still hold magnetic memories, frozen records of the moon's ancient magnetic field. Yes, it used to have one, like Earth does, strong enough to protect it for a time. Then it faded. Scientists aren't sure why. Maybe the core cooled too quickly. Maybe the impact that created these seas also disrupted it. Either way, the moon lost its shield and became exposed, bare to the universe. You smile faintly. Relatable, you think. Everyone loses their shield eventually. It's what lets the light in. The Maria around you gleams softly in earthlight, the shadows cool and infinite. You sit down for a moment, resting your weight in the dust. Your thoughts drift, your breathing slows. The silence feels thicker here, like velvet over your mind. You imagine ancient lava whispering under your feet, frozen mid-sentence. This place has no storms, no wind, no decay, just persistence. The moon doesn't forget. And maybe that's the most comforting thing of all. In a universe that burns and collapses and evolves, here's one world that simply stays. You've been walking for what feels like ages now, though time means little here. The plains start to slope downward, and ahead, you notice a faint shimmer, something different in the texture of the ground. You kneel and realize what you're seeing is frost, actual ice, in tiny glittering patches hiding within the eternal shadows of a crater's rim. This is one of the moon's strangest paradoxes. Despite having no atmosphere, despite searing heat by day and freezing dark by night, some regions never see sunlight at all. These permanently shadowed craters at the poles are colder than Pluto. Any water molecule that drifts in delivered by a comet or a meteor can stay frozen there for billions of years. A mainstream fact. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and India's Chandrayaan-1 both confirmed these icy reserves. They're mixed into the soil, trapped like frost in ancient dust. Estimates suggest there could be hundreds of millions of tons of it, enough to support future missions or even a permanent base. You crouch closer, watching the faint gleam of ice sparkle under your helmet light. It's beautiful, like starlight embedded in powder. The moon hides its gentleness well. You can almost hear the faint hiss of sublimation, though you know it's only imagination. There's no sound, no air, just the dream of motion. If you brushed some of that ice into your glove, it would instantly vaporize in sunlight. It's fragile, like memory. Maybe that's what the moon teaches best, that even in silence, there's something worth holding, if only for a breath. Some scientists still argue about how the water got here in the first place. Was it delivered by icy comets, sprinkled by the solar wind, or released from minerals deep underground? The debate continues. Some even suggest that the moon's interior might contain trace water locked away since its birth. The thought of that hidden moisture beneath a world that seems utterly dry and feels almost tender, as if the moon were keeping one small secret close to its heart. You take a few steps deeper into the shadow. The darkness swallows the light instantly. It's not like any night on Earth. It's tangible. A blanket you could almost touch. Your suit temperature drops. Frost begins to form on the outer layer. For a moment, your breathing feels louder, heavier. Every exhale fogs your visor before fading back into clarity. Somewhere far above, sunlight still pours across the Maria, but none of it reaches you here. You're standing in the oldest night in the solar system, an unbroken darkness, older than Earth's first forests. You tilt your head back and stare upward, but the crater's walls are too steep. The stars are hidden. You're completely enclosed in black. For a fleeting moment, you feel what astronauts have described the overview effect, but inverted. Instead of seeing all of Earth from afar, you feel all of space pressing in, infinite, silent, and close. You imagine what might lie frozen beneath your boots: comet fragments, ancient hydrogen, maybe even organics, complex molecules that predate the solar system itself. NASA once fired a probe into one of these shadowed craters, and the plume that rose confirmed it: frozen water, ammonia, carbon dioxide, even methane. A cosmic recipe buried in cold storage. You exhale slowly, watching the fog clear. So the moon's a freezer now, you murmur. A billion-year-old cosmic fridge. You smile at your own bad joke. Somewhere, a planetary scientist probably just groaned. You take a few careful steps backward toward the rim. As you climb, light begins to return first, faint, then golden. You blink against the change, the sudden rush of contrast. Your visor adjusts, dimming the glare. The stars reappear above, sharp as crystal shards. At the top, you turn and look back down into that frozen darkness. It's incredible to think that within that pit lies the one thing the moon shouldn't have: water. In its own strange way, the moon mirrors Earth, again dry on the surface, alive with potential underneath. And maybe, one day, that's where humans will settle first. Lunar polar stations, drinking melted ice, breathing air made from its oxygen. You picture its domes glowing faintly in the perpetual twilight, solar panels catching the sun's edge. It sounds peaceful, fragile, but hopeful. Scientists still argue whether humans could really thrive here long term. Radiation, isolation, low gravity. It's a harsh world. But then again, so was every frontier before it was home. You glance toward the horizon where the light fades into indigo shadow. Earth hangs there again, luminous and calm. It looks like it's watching you, its child walking on borrowed soil. You can't help but feel a quiet sense of belonging in that gaze. You kneel once more, scoop up a handful of dust, and let it fall through your gloved fingers. The grains drift in slow motion, sparkling under the earthlight. You whisper softly to the ground, "Don't melt yet," and laugh at the absurd tenderness of it. The moon doesn't answer, but if it did, maybe it would whisper back, "I'll keep your secrets too." The grains drift in slow motion, sparkling under the earthlight. You whisper softly to the ground, "Don't melt yet," and laugh again, your voice lost in the helmet. In that tiny gesture dust slipping away, you sense something bigger. How everything in space feels like it's both eternal and fleeting at once. The moon, for all its stillness, is far from dead. Each grain beneath you is the product of impacts, pressure, heat, and time. The regolith, the moon's fine surface dust, isn't soil like on Earth. It's made from crushed rock, tiny glass beads, and iron particles ground down over eons by meteor strikes. No wind has ever moved it. No rain has ever softened it. It is pure history, untouched. Scientists say that lunar dust is sharp, almost like microscopic shards. Astronauts from the Apollo missions complained it clung to everything: suits, visors, equipment. Its static charge made it stubborn and alive. And when they brought it back to the spacecraft, the smell clung to the airlocks. "Burnt gunpowder," they said. But there's no carbon or combustion here. That scent, that strange illusion of fire, comes from something chemical: tiny grains reacting to oxygen for the first time in millions of years. It's poetic, isn't it? A smell that only exists in the meeting of two worlds. You brush your gloved hands together, letting the dust scatter. Then, as if on cue, a faint vibration hums through your boots. You pause. Of course, it's nothing alive, just the slow cooling of the ground after sunlight. Tiny temperature shifts, causing the rock to contract. The moon's version of a heartbeat. Far below, the crater remains dark and still, holding its secrets. Above, the stars glint against infinite black. You find yourself drawn upward again, tracing constellations you can barely recognize from this angle. They look sharper here, unfiltered, pure, without atmosphere. Starlight doesn't twinkle. It simply burns steady, unwavering, like it was meant to. You take a deep breath, more out of habit than need. Everything's so clean, you think. There's no scent, no sound, no life-only presence. Space feels like clarity incarnate. And yet, this clarity is deceptive, because even here, dust moves. The moon's surface is constantly changing in invisible ways. Did you know that during the lunar night, when temperatures drop below -170°C, the solar wind continues to bombard the surface? Particles from the sun, mostly protons, strike the regolith and create a faint, temporary electric field. It's believed this charge can lift tiny dust grains a few centimeters off the surface, letting them hover in slow motion before falling again. A ghostly dust storm, silent and unseen. Apollo astronauts once noticed something odd before sunrise on the moon. A faint, shimmering glow at the horizon. Scientists think it could be that floating dust catching sunlight, an electrostatic haze. Imagine that particles dancing to an unseen rhythm. A lunar aurora made not of light, but of motion. You smile at the thought. Even the moon dreams of movement. There's a kind of melancholy beauty in knowing that everything here is temporary, even if temporary means millions of years. Craters erode. Rocks crack under sunlight. Dust migrates grain by grain, following invisible currents. And one day, perhaps long after humanity is gone, the last traces of our presence, our footprints, our flags, our machines will vanish too. The solar wind will scour them clean. The moon will forget us, but not yet. Not tonight. You take one last look at Earth, soft, blue, and breathing, and begin walking again, leaving faint marks in the grey dust. Each step feels heavier, not because of gravity, but because of awe. The moon feels like it's listening, and as you walk, you can almost imagine it whispering back, "Don't worry, I'll remember you for a while longer." You keep walking, your steps tracing the curve of the horizon, the light shifting behind you. The quiet feels endless, but comforting. Each echo of your footfall fades into the silence, until even that disappears. Only your heartbeat remains slow, steady, and small against the vastness. You pause near a gentle rise, where the landscape seems to hum with the memory of motion. A pale ridge stretches out before you, marking the edge of an ancient lava plain, one of the Lunar Maria. Seas, they called them once, back when telescopes showed only dark patches and imagination filled in the rest. Mare Tranquillitatis, Mare Imbrium, Oceanus Procellarum, romantic names for places that never knew water. The moon's seas aren't seas at all, of course. They're vast plains of basalt, born from colossal eruptions billions of years ago when the moon's interior still churned with molten fire. You picture it, magma rising through fractures, flooding craters, cooling under a vacuum into smooth, glassy rock. If the highlands are the moon's wrinkles of age, the Maria are its scars from youth. Here, gravity plays tricks again. These plains are denser than the crust around them, packed with heavy elements like iron and titanium. In fact, those differences in mass create subtle Mascons gravitational anomalies, first detected by spacecraft orbiting above. They tug at satellites, ever so slightly, bending their paths like invisible fingers. It's as if the moon still remembers where its molten heart once pulsed. You take a few careful steps and feel how the terrain subtly shifts, slopes easing, then falling away into shallow valleys. The ground glints faintly under your light, speckled with tiny metallic flecks. Some of this rock has been here since before complex life appeared on Earth. When Apollo astronauts collected samples, scientists later discovered something fascinating. The basalt here is rich in ilmenite, a mineral that could one day help extract oxygen and even fuel from the lunar soil. The moon, in its quiet way, holds everything we'd need to live off-world. You whisper, "A self-contained world," and it echoes back in your mind. Still, not everything about these plains makes sense. Some scientists still argue whether the lava floods came from deep mantle upwellings or from massive impacts that fractured the crust wide open. The debate continues, each new probe mapping subtle clues, each sample revealing just enough to complicate the story further. It's comforting, somehow, that even something so old can still keep its mysteries. You stop for a moment, gazing at the horizon. It feels impossibly far, yet close enough to touch. The curvature of the moon is gentle, intimate. When you walk here, you can almost see the world wrap around you. The stillness is perfect. No wind, no rustle. Even the regolith seems to rest. And yet, somewhere beneath, there's evidence of movement, tiny quakes, moonquakes, still rippling through the crust. Most are caused by the Earth's gravitational pull, flexing the moon like a heartbeat. Sometimes, they're strong enough to crack rock. You can't help but imagine what that might sound like if sound could travel here, a low, ancient groan beneath your boots. You tilt your head, pretending you can hear it anyway. "Easy there, old friend," you whisper. "You're doing great." It's a silly thought, but the moon feels alive tonight. Not in a biological sense, but in its sheer persistence. The Maria stretch endlessly, each plane merging into another until distance becomes dreamlike. You find a patch of rock polished smooth by micrometeorite impacts. Over billions of years, countless tiny particles have bombarded the surface, melting glass beads into the soil. Some of those beads, scientists discovered, contain traces of volcanic gases, with tiny time capsules of the moon's fiery youth. You imagine holding one between your fingers, the past glittering inside. You chuckle softly. A billion-year-old snow globe, minus the snow. Somewhere, Earth-light ripples across the plain, faint and blue. The shadows stretch like ink, long and thin, wrapping around every rock. The effect is hypnotic motion, without movement. You can feel your eyelids growing heavy, the rhythm of your breath sinking with the emptiness around you. For a fleeting moment, you think about how those first astronauts must have felt standing where you stand now, knowing they were farther from home than anyone before them. They planted flags, left footprints, whispered jokes to fill the silence, and though they came back, a part of them never did. The moon keeps pieces of people, dust on boots, a single footprint pressed deep, a forgotten tool lying beside a lander, all silent witnesses to our brief visitations. You imagine stumbling across one, now a hammer half buried, its metal dulled by micrometeorites. You'd pick it up and see your reflection warped across its surface, sharing space with the faint ghost of a human from 50 years ago. "Hey," you'd probably say to the void, "Thanks for going first." You smile because you can almost hear the reply. Your turn. The silence folds around you again, calm and absolute. The stars seem closer now, drawn in by your breathing. The line between yourself and the landscape softens, until you can't tell whether you're standing on the moon or inside it. You walk on, the landscape flattening into a pale dreamscape of endless grey. It feels as though you've stepped out of time itself. Shadows stretch forever, frozen in place, refusing to fade. You almost laugh at the idea of time here because the moon doesn't have weather, doesn't have wind, doesn't have the tiny daily erosions that define Earth. It just endures. Every footprint ever pressed into its soil still lingers. Every scar from an impact remains. And yet, even timeless things move forward, in their own slow, cosmic way. The moon is drifting away from Earth. Every year, it slips about 3.8 centimeters farther into space. It's a tiny distance you'd barely notice it, but over millions of years it changes everything. The tides weaken. Days on Earth grow longer. The rhythms that have guided life since the first ocean tides rolled against the shores will one day drift into new patterns. You look up, picturing the moon's future orbit a little wider, a little lonelier, and then you smile softly, realizing that long after we're gone, it'll still be there, circling, pulling faintly at the oceans, keeping time in silence. Scientists still argue whether the moon will ever escape Earth's grip completely. Some say yes, given enough time, billions upon billions of years. Others believe the sun will swell first, swallowing both worlds before the dance can end. Either way, you think, the moon has the patience to find out. You crouch beside a ridge and run a gloved hand through the dust. The grains fall in lazy arcs, almost floating before settling. The motion is mesmerizing. You realize that if you dropped something heavy, a rock, maybe it would fall only 1/6 as fast as on Earth. A slow, graceful descent, as if gravity itself is trying to be gentle. And that gentleness gives the moon its strange, dreamlike beauty. Everything happens slowly here, even temperature. During the lunar day, the surface can bake at 127 C, and at night, it plunges to negative 173 C. But the transitions are gradual, sweeping like tides of heat and cold, instead of abrupt shifts. You chuckle under your breath. The moon invented slow living before it was cool. There's something deeply soothing about that slowness. You imagine what it would be like to build a home here, some quiet lunar base nestled in a crater rim. You'd spend your days watching Earthrise, your nights counting stars. You'd measure time not by minutes, but by how the shadows move across the ground. There's already talk of it, of course. Scientists and dreamers planning permanent bases at the lunar South Pole, near craters where sunlight grazes the rim year-round. In those deep, shaded pockets, they've found water ice. It hides in the darkness, preserved for billions of years, untouched. And one day, that ice might be what keeps humans alive here. Drinking water, breathable oxygen, even rocket fuel. You find yourself whispering, so it's not just dust and rockets potential. Still, there's mystery wrapped inside every discovery. Some scientists argue that much of the moon's ice came from comets that collided long ago. Others suggest it might have formed from hydrogen in the solar wind bonding with oxygen in the regolith itself. Both stories are beautiful. One speaks of distant visitors, the other of chemistry quietly happening in the dark. Either way, the result is the same. A frozen archive, holding whispers of ancient space history. You gaze toward the south, where those shadowed craters would be, forever cloaked in darkness. Sunlight has never reached their floors. They're places of permanent night, a fitting home for secrets. If you could walk there, Your steps would echo through billions of years. You'd see crystals of ice sparkling like stars trapped in rock. You'd breathe through your suit and feel the weight of silence pressing close, not hostile, just patient. For a moment, you imagine taking your helmet off, just to see what silence tastes like. Then you laugh softly. You probably wouldn't survive that. You murmur, half amused, half awed. You picture how your exhaled breath would flash freeze in an instant, floating away like a tiny comet. Everything here moves differently, even decay. No rot, no rust-only radiation and time. You keep walking, the landscape subtly shifting in tone, the grey deepening toward blue under Earthlight. The horizon glows faintly, like the rim of a dream about to dissolve. You realize that, for all its barrenness, the moon feels strangely alive, not because of what's on it, but because of how it mirrors us. Our curiosity, our loneliness, our need to look up and wonder. That's why we came here, isn't it? Not just to plant flags or prove equations, but to see ourselves reflected in the dust. You glance up at Earth, again still there, still turning, and a small wave of calm passes through you. You can almost feel the hum of the planets, oceans, and cities, muted by distance but steady as ever. You whisper, "You're doing fine down there," and smile, because in this vast quiet, it feels like the whole planet might actually hear you. The moon, you think, doesn't need to be alive to make you feel more human. You stop for a while at the edge of a ridge, the kind that cradles its shadows like secrets. Earthlight pools softly across the stone, illuminating streaks of silver and faint blue. The view is hypnotic. You trace a finger through the dust and let your thoughts drift to the people who've studied this strange companion from afar for thousands of years. Before rockets, before telescopes, the moon was already humanity's first mirror. Ancient cultures watched it wax and wane and built their calendars around it. To them, it wasn't just a rock. It was a god, a guide, a clock. The Babylonians used its phases to predict floods. The Maya built entire temples aligned with its cycles. The Chinese saw a rabbit pounding elixirs of immortality on its glowing surface. You picture that an immortal bunny pharmacist under your boots and smile sleepily. Even now, scientists still argue whether the moon's early orbit played a crucial role in stabilizing Earth's tilt. Without it, our seasons might have wobbled wildly, our climate chaotic. Some even believe the moon's presence made life possible in the first place, an accidental guardian that steadied the chaos just enough for biology to take root. It's funny, you think, how something so distant keeps everything in balance without ever touching it. The ridge ahead gleams with streaks of brighter rock and impact ray, formed from material blasted outward when an asteroid struck ages ago. You climb higher, boots pressing into ancient ejecta. Each step feels like walking across a fossilized explosion. Some rays stretch for hundreds of kilometers, visible from Earth as bright tendrils across the moon's face. They fade over millions of years, but for now, they're perfect like frozen lightning bolts carved into stone. At the top, you pause to rest. The landscape below looks soft now, almost velvet in the glow. You imagine unrolling a sleeping bag right here, lying flat under an eternal sky. No wind, no insects, no rustle of leaves, just your pulse, syncing with the stars. But you're not entirely alone here. The moon hums faintly with echoes of its past tiny vibrations, invisible tremors. Scientists detected deep moonquakes, gentle but persistent, originating hundreds of kilometers beneath the surface. Some happen every month, like the moon breathing in rhythm with Earth's tides. No one's entirely sure why. Maybe they're caused by gravitational flexing, maybe by leftover internal heat, or maybe, as one geologist joked, the moon just gets lonely. You chuckle quietly. Relatable. Down below, you can see the faint glimmer of something reflective metal, perhaps. A relic from one of the Apollo missions. A forgotten instrument or a mirror panel left behind to measure laser distance. You know that even today, scientists on Earth fire lasers at those panels and measure the reflected light to track the moon's drift. The signal takes just over 2 seconds for a round trip, a cosmic game of ping pong that's lasted for decades. You think about that for a moment. The precision, the patience, humanity sending pulses of light to the moon and waiting for them to come back. It's almost romantic. You kneel beside a small rock, turning it slowly under your glove. The texture feels rough, brittle, ancient. Some lunar rocks, scientists discovered, contain fragments of material even older than the moon itself, pieces of the solar system's earliest history. Others might even hold traces of Earth, thrown here by ancient impacts when our world was still molten. You pause, letting that sink in. You could be holding a piece of home that took a 4 billion year detour. Welcome back, you whisper to the stone. The moon, it seems, is a collector of dust, of stories, of echoes. It's a museum without visitors, preserving every collision, every trace of light. Even your footprints will join the collection now, another quiet mark among millions. You walk again, slower this time, tracing a path toward the horizon. A faint trail of dust follows you, curling up and falling gently. Each motion feels deliberate, ritualistic, like walking through memory itself. And you wonder if the moon could dream. What would it dream about? Would it imagine oceans, wind, the scent of rain? Would it envy Earth's chaos, or simply admire it from afar, content in its stillness? You glance upward again. The stars are mercilessly clear. No shimmer, no distortion. It's unsettling at first, then calming, as if reality itself has stopped trying to impress you. Here, things just are. You close your eyes and let your thoughts wander to the future again. Maybe one day, humans will build quiet habitats, here glass domes, half buried in the dust, glowing softly under Earthlight. Children might play in low gravity, hopping like slow-motion dancers. Cities might rise, where craters now sleep. And perhaps, in some distant evening, someone will stand where you stand and whisper the same thought. We made it back. You smile faintly. Because, in a way, you already have. Every human who's ever looked up at the night sky has walked here in imagination. You're just giving that dream a voice tonight. You follow the slope down again, your steps slow, steady, and deliberate. The terrain grows rougher here, shards of rock, jutting like broken glass, scattered in delicate patterns that look accidental but tell entire stories. Each fragment is part of an impact field, debris from collisions so powerful they briefly melted stone into vapor. You pause, letting your eyes adjust to the subtle glimmer of fused glass beads among the dust. They sparkle faintly, like constellations under your boots. Scientists call them agglutinate, in tiny, welded clusters formed by micrometeorites striking at incredible speeds. Each hit fuses grains together, sealing in traces of solar wind gases and cosmic rays. In a way, the moon's surface is a record of everything that's ever touched it. Every solar storm, every stray rock from the depths of space. Even the faintest whisper of the sun's breath is trapped here. written in glass and iron. You crouch, scoop up a handful of that glittering dust, and watch it spill through your fingers in slow motion. It catches the light in soft arcs. You're literally holding space history. You think, no big deal. The silence makes it even more surreal. You could shout here, and it would vanish instantly. No echo, no trace. The moon doesn't carry voices, only footprints. It's an odd kind of immortality. Soundless, unrecorded, but visible forever. You let the last grain fall and stand again. Somewhere above, a faint glint crosses the sky. A satellite, maybe, or a piece of space debris tumbling in orbit. For a moment, you imagine it's one of ours, a relic of exploration from decades past. The moon has collected those too. Dozens of missions, both triumphant and forgotten, have left fragments scattered across the surface. Soviet landers, American rovers, experimental probes, all part of an accidental lunar graveyard. There's something poetic in that, you think. Humanity's most ambitious dreams, reduced to quiet artifacts, resting in peace. And still, new ones arrive. Modern spacecraft map craters, scout for ice, test landings. Each mission adds another layer to the moon's growing story, a collaboration across time. It's not just a destination anymore. It's a laboratory, a stepping stone to everything beyond. You think of Artemis, the next wave of human exploration. Soon, people will return here, standing where no one has stood for half a century. Maybe they'll build habitats, maybe even gardens. You imagine that plants growing in lunar soil, fed by recycled water and artificial sunlight. Scientists have already tested it, growing seeds in samples of lunar dust brought back from Apollo. The results were strange but promising. The plants survived stressed, but alive. You grin softly. Guess we're not the only ones learning to adapt. Still, not everything on the moon welcomes human plans. There are places here, fragile, untouched, that scientists want to protect forever. The far side, for example, hidden from Earth's radio noise, could serve as a pristine observatory, listening to the faint signals of the early universe. Others argue that even a few landers could pollute those frequencies. It's a delicate debate between curiosity and preservation, between progress and reverence. You can see both sides. The moon isn't just a world to conquer, it's a world to understand. You glance toward the horizon. The Earth now hangs lower in the sky, half-shadowed. The colors seem more intense, the blues deeper, the clouds glowing faintly gold at their edges. It feels almost alive, like a heartbeat pulsing against the void. You think of how ancient poets once described it, the moon as a mirror, the Earth as its reflection. But now, standing here, you realize it's the opposite. The Earth is the one shining light outward. The moon merely returns what it receives, a quiet echo of brilliance. That reflection is why we see its phases. From new to full, the moon's face changes not because it hides, but because of how we see it. Half of it is always illuminated, the rest always dark. The shadow is ours, not its own. There's something comforting in that thought that darkness, sometimes, is only a matter of perspective. You take a deep breath and let the stillness sink in again. Every heartbeat feels like a ripple in eternity. Somewhere beneath your boots, seismic sensors from old missions still sleep in the dust, their batteries long dead, but their purpose intact to listen. And you realize that's what you're doing too, listening to quiet, to distance, to everything the moon refuses to say out loud. For a fleeting moment you close your eyes and imagine floating above it all, weightless, watching this world spin below the grey plains, the dark Maria, the shining peaks. A silver coin in a sea of night. You smile faintly. "You're more than I expected," you whisper, "and quieter than any dream deserves." Then, with a soft exhale, you begin walking again, following the light, letting your footprints fade into the shimmer behind you. You wander further now, toward the edge of the highlands. The terrain rises beneath your feet, each ridge sharper, each shadow deeper. You can almost feel the history thickening in the rock-ting, the memory of impacts, eruptions, and long-forgotten violence. The highlands are the moon's oldest skin, scarred but proud, billions of years older than any landscape on Earth. Up close, it looks like marble fractured by light. Pale anorthosite glitters faintly, flecked with tiny crystals of feldspar. These rocks were the first to crystallize from the moon's primordial magma ocean scrays. That sounds like myth, but is, in fact, science. Once, 4.5 billion years ago, the moon was molten from surface to core. As it cooled, lighter minerals floated upward, forming the bright crust that now catches sunlight like polished bone. You run a gloved hand along a boulder's face, tracing the story of fire turned to stillness. So this, you think, is the afterglow of creation. And yet, even that isn't the whole story. Scientists still debate whether the moon formed from a single colossal impact, the giant impact hypothesis, or from something stranger, like multiple collisions or even a captured twin world. Some computer models suggest the early Earth might have had a synestia, a vaporized donut of molten rock from which the moon condensed. Others propose that two proto-Earths collided and merged, flinging out the material that became the moon. You smile. So basically cosmic chaos with good lighting. Whatever the truth, you can feel it under your feet. The residue of catastrophe turned into serenity. Every crater here is both a scar and a sculpture, the result of unimaginable energy that somehow produced peace. You pause to gaze into one nearby crater, its rim catching pale fire from Earthlight. The bottom is darker, its floor strewn with debris and shadow. Somewhere down there, tiny glass spherules might still hold the signature of the impact's heat, frozen forever. You imagine standing here at the moment it happened, a flash brighter than the sun, a shockwave rolling through the crust, dust flying miles high. Then silence, the long exhale of nothingness returning. The moon is made of those silences stacked on top of one another, and yet it doesn't feel empty. It feels full of time, of memory, of the patient labor of the universe. You take a few steps back from the crater's edge and sit down carefully. From here, you can see both the old highlands behind you and the smoother Maria stretching far ahead. A perfect map of contrast, like the face of an old coin rubbed by countless hands. Above you, Earth has turned slightly. You can see the continents drift across its surface, white storms curling like fingerprints. It's mesmerizing, how alive it looks from here. The clouds shimmer, the oceans pulse, the lights of cities glimmer faintly along the night side. Every one of those lights, you realize, is someone awake. Someone maybe looking up at this same moon and wondering who might be standing here tonight. You laugh softly. "It's me," you whisper, high from the dust. You feel a kind of peace settle into your chest. It's not the peace of stillness, it's the peace of perspective, of realizing how small you are, and how beautiful that smallness can be. Then your thoughts drift to the far side, the hidden hemisphere that never faces Earth. It's rugged, scarred, and mysterious. For centuries, no one had ever seen it. It wasn't until 1959 that the Soviet Lunar 3 probe photographed it for the first time, revealing a landscape utterly different, thick with craters. Almost no smooth Maria. Scientists still debate why. Some say it's because the moon's crust is thicker there, preventing lava from surfacing. Others suggest it's tied to early magnetic fields, or the distribution of radioactive elements that shaped the crust's cooling. Whatever the reason, the far side feels like the moon's secret diary. It only opened reluctantly. You imagine floating there, in the eternal radio silence, cut off from Earth's transmissions. It would be so quiet, so absolute, that you could probably hear your heartbeat echo inside your helmet. For a moment, the thought makes you shiver, not from fear, but awe. Here, isolation becomes sacred. You tilt your head back again, eyes tracing the thin divide between light and shadow, the Terminator line. It moves slowly across the surface, changing the moon's face each night. The light there is soft, indirect, pure geometry. If you were to stand exactly on that line, you'd see stars on one side and sunrise on the other. Half in day, half in night. You murmur, the perfect place for dreams to live. And that's what this feels like now, a dream you don't want to wake from. The gravity is low, your breath slow, your mind suspended between wonder and calm. You can feel sleep tugging gently at the edge of consciousness, the same way the moon tugs at Earth's tides. You close your eyes for a moment and imagine the two of you, planet and satellite, breathing together. Each orbit, each rotation, a rhythm, a lullaby, written in motion and silence. You stay there for a long while, watching the slow spill of light creep across the plains below. Dawn is beginning on the moon. It doesn't come suddenly the way it does on Earth. Here, sunrise takes hours. The edge of the sun crawls upward, painting every ridge in soft gold before flooding the craters in brilliance. You squint behind your visor as shadows retreat, 1 centimeter at a time, revealing what night had hidden. There's no sky shift, no rosy horizon, just an explosion of clarity, black turning to white in an instant. Every rock casts a perfect shadow. Every grain of dust glints like powdered glass. You can almost feel the warmth returning through your boots, slow and steady. It's strange how comforting it feels. You've grown used to the silence, to the weightless gravity of thought. But the light reminds you that even here, cycles persist. Night, day, cold, warmth, simple rhythms that echo across the cosmos. You start walking again, following a shallow trench carved by ancient lava flow. It snakes through the plain like a forgotten riverbed. Scientists call them rills, frozen rivers of fire. Some twist gently for hundreds of kilometers, reminders that the moon once bled heat like a living body. Others argue whether they were formed by collapsed lava tubes or surface channels, remnants of subterranean veins. Either way, they're the moon's arteries, now petrified in stone. You trace the curve of one with your eyes, imagining molten rock flowing beneath your feet eons ago. The thought feels both terrifying and comforting. Everything changes, even things that look eternal. Ahead, a rock glints sharply. You pick it up and hold it under your light. It's tiny, angular, black glass, likely a fragment from a recent impact. Recent here might mean 1,000,000 years, but still. You roll it between your fingers and whisper, fresh out of the oven. You slip it into a pouch, a small keepsake of a larger mystery. As you walk farther, the land softens again, the ridges flattening into smoother plains. The sun climbs higher now, and Earth fades pale against the glare. The light feels differentless, like illumination, more like exposure. You sense how fragile everything is here. Every shadow is temporary, every footprint exposed. And yet, that vulnerability feels pure. The moon doesn't pretend. It doesn't hide behind weather or atmosphere. It simply is. You think of all the myths, all the poems, all the songs people have written about it, and how, standing here, those words finally make sense. The moon isn't beautiful because of what it shows. It's beautiful because of what it reflects. Light, time, memory. You stop for a final look at the Earth, glowing softly in the black sky. From here, it's just a fragile marble, delicate and improbable. Every ocean, every forest, every heartbeat, all contained in that glowing sphere. You think about the people still awake down there, maybe looking up right now, tracing the same lunar light that brushes your face. You whisper one last time, "See you soon," and turn back toward the horizon. The dust stirs around your boots. The stars fade, though they never really go away. And as you walk, the soundless world seems to hum so faintly you can almost mistake it for your own pulse. You realize this entire journey has been that hum, quiet, constant, and full of wonder. You sit again, letting yourself sink into the gentle brightness. Your breath slows. Your heart beats in time with the orbit of things far greater than yourself. The moon feels warmer, now not in temperature, but in presence. It's as if the light itself has softened, folding around you like a blanket woven from silence. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it. The slow expansion of stone under sunlight, the faint whisper of dust settling, the steady pulse of gravity between worlds, all of it moving with infinite patience. You close your eyes, imagining Earth's blue glow behind your eyelids, and exhale. The sound disappears instantly, absorbed by the vacuum, leaving only stillness. You think about how fragile noise really is, how easily it dissolves into quiet. In that quiet, everything finds its place. The moon, drifting patiently around its partner, the tides rising and falling back home, the stars burning their stories into the night. You breathe in once more, slow and deep, and let go of every leftover thought. The moon cradles you like. It cradles the tides without judgment, without hurry. The light fades behind your eyes, and you feel yourself becoming part of the rhythm, just orbiting, just resting. The universe keeps spinning, softly, endlessly, while you drift into sleep.